Okay, we're rolling. First of all, we'll do a kind of roll call. We have Nat, our new member, myself, Dave Jones. We got Paul, the interim superintendent. We got Michelle, who's the executive director of Harbor Media. Our counsel, Bill Solomon, and Chris Barron of the committee. Hey, Chris. Yeah, you can hear me all right? Yeah.
I hear you perfectly.
All right. Report approval of the minutes. The minutes of meeting of September 22nd, 2021. Hopefully everyone has read them. Did you read them, Chris?
Of course.
Of course. Nat, did you get to read them?
No.
Oh, okay. I read them. As usual, they're copious and detailed, and I have no objections to them. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as written?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Nat, you can do that.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, so approved. And actually, that does raise a question. Is anyone willing to step up and be the minute taker, since that Micah's not here? Do I hear any volunteers? Come on. It can't be me.
What's involved?
All you have to do is just what happened in the meeting. If we approve anything, that definitely has to make it. And just the notes of the meeting. That's all we got to do.
With two provisos. One, I'm so technically challenged as well as needing a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And that I can go over them with you or someone.
That's
afterwards.
fine. You can get over with Mike when he'll get back tomorrow, I think. So not a problem. Not a problem. Okay, so if you could take the notes, that'd be great. So the next thing on the agenda is I just wanted to introduce Nat Stillman, who's our new member of the committee, replacing Jeff Cutler. Nat, you want to give us a few words about where you're coming from and what you're expecting?
Hi, thanks. I was shocked and maybe shocked and chagrined when my volunteer application was accepted. I thought I did really badly with the town administrator, particularly when he asked me how much Harbor Media I'd watched. So anyway, I've been in Linden Ponds now for a little over 5 years. My background, I was a physician assistant for 30 years, but coming out of college, I was a motion picture machine operator for 7. And I convinced my brother to get in the business, which he did, making movies. Anyway, since I've come here, I've gone back to that avocation, and I now help show movies here for the residents in our auditorium. And that actually leads to a question about whether Wednesday night is always the night.
No,
I'll just finish that. Dave, you had asked for stuff about what is happening at Linden Ponds, and when I'm more ready, hopefully prepared next month, I'll be able to give you some bullet points. Oh, the main thing though is they have been fantastic, taking care of us with COVID. We got boosters tomorrow for the whole place.
wow.
So
Yeah, Linden Ponds has its own studio and whatnot, or set up, don't they? They have something for cable, right?
Yes.
Did you get to talk to Sandra?
I'm sorry?
Did you talk to Sandra Peavy?
Quite a bit.
Good.
And recently, she's been busy with her educational program called UU Cubed. They're doing a new program on the indigenous peoples. Actually, we have 3 programs on that going on this month. And so Linden Ponds TV, and I'm delving into the history of what their Comcast contract is actually, but they have 2 channels. One is PEG, and the other is entertainment. And they have, people have donated DVDs, so they show those in-house. So we don't have Paramount Pictures coming after us quite yet. So they have a daily show, like at 10 o'clock, and go over all the activities. And then during the day, various different programs. And I'll tell you more about it. They're very good. And the people who run the day-to-day operations also help with audio-visual programs, particularly here. Going to a hybrid meeting is very popular because for some folks, COVID taught them that it would be, they felt more comfortable and staying in their apartments. So many people now are coming in person while it's simulcast by Zoom.
So this is only broadcast within the facility, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Michelle, there's nothing that we could do for, I mean, you know, is this something, is their content specific just to Linden Bonds, or is it something we could use?
We receive contributed content from Linden Pond, specifically through Sandy Peavy. We are in constant contact with each other, and she provides content on a weekly basis. Yeah.
Okay.
And then vice versa. She has aired some of our content too on their closed network.
Okay. Okay. So those are, yeah, that's good. That's a relationship.
And one of the progressive report, I hope over the next 6 months, is to find out more ways to, you know, right now, many of the people here come because their kids are in Massachusetts. They come from other parts of the country. So getting them interested in Hingham, even though it's some parts of it are very important to them, to me, I think it's a long-range thing to get Harbor Media here as a way to link this little village of 1,400 into the town.
And also just for folks who might not be aware, we had regular hours at Linden Pond pre-COVID. And so we've just not returned to that schedule yet. I'm sure we will do that when it's safe to do so.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? I
Sure.
didn't hear.
Before
You were breaking up. I couldn't. You said
before COVID.
You did what?
Before
We're losing you. We're losing you,
before
Michelle.
COVID. Okay, I'll go to a different place in the house and try to have better Wi-Fi. Sorry, the storm has really challenged us.
All right.
Before COVID, our staff had regular hours at Linden Ponds.
Great. I look forward to hearing about that.
Okay. Welcome aboard. Next, we're introducing Paul, our interim superintendent. If you were, Paul, is the goal to sort of just hand off your role on my little committee when we get the new guy, or do you want to line somebody else up? I guess that's the first question I wanted to ask.
Is that a question for me or for Michelle?
Yeah, for you. You.
Well, I think it's important that I assist the new superintendent in transition, and
Yeah.
I believe that person will be transitioning into this role of me being in this position. So I think that would
Okay.
be essential for me to give them a really good understanding of what the expectations are and what we can do, what I can do to actually help that transition.
Okay. No, that's fair. You've already met, obviously, Michelle, and you guys have been working together.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. So, is there anything that we could help you with? Just making sure you have enough information for the new guy coming in?
No, I think, I'm on, I've done a lot of work with PAC TV in the Plymouth area.
Okay.
And in my time, so I'm kind of familiar with operations, just different, completely different, not really all that different, but just a different structure,
Okay.
which I'm excited to be, to know more, learn more, and to help in any way I can.
And an HD.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was lobbying for HD for years, and yeah, it's awesome to have HD. Let me tell you, that's going to be great.
It was certainly a slog for us to finally get it on both our providers, but we're there. So
That's beautiful.
goodness. Okay, moving on to my agenda here. I had the open meeting. Just briefly on the open meeting law, there was a meeting that I attended and Mike attended that the town put on. That just goes over the rules and regulations for open meetings in the state of Massachusetts. I sent you a link to the state's material. The only thing that jumped out at me that we had not done, which was part of those regulations, that you do have to sign off a certificate. It's just a one page of saying, yeah, I read the open meeting law, and then that is sent to the town clerk. So if you haven't done that, I strongly advise you to go through the material, fill out the certificate, and get it to town hall. Chris, have you done it? Yes, no, no. Well, get it done when you can, and that same thing. It's not a big deal. The way I did it is I just made it a PDF and just mailed it, but you can drop it off at the town hall. Rest of it is pretty standard stuff that we've been following. Okay, next up is the finance update. Mike isn't here. I don't know if you want to give us a quick, Michelle, update on the finances. I know that in the latest chart, we do have some stuff that shows up red. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we sent over our end of year financials. We are in the process of an audit. We have an annual audit and file our Form PC. So all of that should be done November, December timeframe. But we sent over our internal documents to the CAC showing how much we spent in each category of our budget. Our employer liability taxes went up nearly 5% from the state of Massachusetts. So that was a big part of an area that we hadn't budgeted on, but we did bring in more revenue than we originally estimated. And so we still came out fine. In fact, we were just about 10 grand over, I believe. And so I know that Dave has put that information, how we're tracking this fiscal year from July 1st on the Town of Hingham CAC website.
Yep. And we also put the HD icon thing on there too, which is good. Goodness. Okay.
Yeah, that was great.
Any questions for Michelle on finances? Going once, going twice. All right.
I have a question for you, Mike. What is the HD icon?
Oh, on the website, we've got sort of a graphic it's not really an icon, but it's sort of a bullet graphic. And I think that's the same one that we put on the trucks, right, Michelle, with there's a magnetic sign, whatever, that trumpets the fact that we have HD on Verizon and on Comcast. So that's what that's all about. We're trying to push that some more, obviously. All right. Next thing, just quick thing on the on our requests. I just need Adam to fill in a few months. I put that in the document. I think we're missing April through September or something like that. I know Adam's been really busy. So if he can get that done, that'd be great.
You know what, Dave? I was going to ask if those might be going to your spam, because he CCs me when he sends those, and he sends them every month. So
Yeah.
let me, if you're not finding them, let me just re-forward them to you, because I know that happened last month too, and he just re-forwarded what he already sent.
Yeah.
I don't know if adding Adam's email to your email account might help.
Okay.
Yeah, because we send them the last week of every month.
Yeah, I know.
And I'll go in and forward those to you.
Yeah, this just like 3 months way back. I mean, I got September, and I think I don't have October yet, but for some reason or other, there was a gap there. So yeah, we'll figure it out. If we could just get that in there, that'd be great. All right. Next up, we have hey Bill, you can unmute. Bill. Hey Bill. Bill. He's muted. Yeah. Hello. Bill. Hey.
Dave, I was actually going to ask.
I just was multitasking. All set. How are you?
All right, but
Good.
wait, just what do you want to ask a question, Michelle, or something you wanted?
Sure. Hi, Michelle. It's been so long. Nice to see you.
Okay. Everyone should have gotten. I sent out earlier today the sort of a rundown of what Bill's going to walk us through.
Yeah. And folks, just one comment was that no one would read that and follow it or understand it. It's just an outline for me to take you through, so you have something before you. But it was not intended, nor could it be used to read something over and figure out what ended up. So great.
All right, rock
All right.
on.
Okay. All right. So let me put it on the screen. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, I still can't share yet. It says host disabled. You need to either let me put it on the screen or make me the host, if you know how. Okay, good. All righty. Let's see. Can't quite see it there, so let me take a look. Like, here's this. Let's see. So all of those, there goes. Okay. All right. Well, good to meet everyone. And the superintendent, correct? The schools, is that correct? And I missed your name. I apologize.
Gary Maestas.
Oh, it is. Okay, Gary. I'm
Yeah, that's
sorry.
me.
I thought somehow that was the former superintendent.
Oh,
Good to meet you. And you were in
Paul.
You were in Plymouth, in the Plymouth, what is it, shared with Kingston or something? I can't remember.
I was a superintendent in Plymouth for about 13 years.
Great. Because I know, as you do, Nancy Richard, who had been.
I know Nancy very well.
Started PAC TV, and
Nancy and I are very close.
She's great. Yeah, and work with there and on the Cape. So just my background, I handle the initial Comcast, well, the initial Verizon license and the Comcast license. And then I handled the Verizon renewal last time. and although I'm forgetting about the initial Verizon, but Comcast, then Comcast, and then Verizon and Comcast. So I've worked with the town starting at this point, 20 years ago, and enjoyed it very much, including Sandy, who was fantastic on the committee, and the folks who are here who continue. So just to give some background on Verizon. Verizon, unlike Comcast, Verizon is only a cable company. If you call it that, or build cable systems and provide cable service, because they felt they had to. They had to get into the triple play. They couldn't not have video when cable was really the only video in town of note. So they came in only in certain communities, usually the more suburban, high-tech type communities, and they did well. And we'll actually, one second, I'll compare. We'll look at the subscriber numbers in a moment. But for the past few years, as the committee in Hingham knows, based on folks who actually were on the committee, John, right? John's last name, who was in finance, who would hear firsthand from Verizon, but they have one foot out the door. They don't want to remain a cable provider. Their goal is really to have a relationship with every one of their customers that is between Verizon Wireless and their resident or business, rather than Verizon. And so they told Wall Street, and they told themselves they're going to be out of here. So that means that even on their last renewal in 2018, they only wanted a 5-year license for cable license renewal, where that state law allows for up to 10 years. Traditionally, in cable licensing, you always do 10 years. It's in the cable company's interest to have 10 years. And if they get 10 years, you end up with better funding and a better cable license. So the current license provides for a 5-year term with some caveats about modification or termination. If there's some competition, that you give permission to someone else to go there and they get a better deal, and you can't negotiate a new deal with Verizon, they had a right to get out in 3 years. But other than that, they were committed to 5 years. But beginning at the beginning of 2019, a year after the Hingham Verizon license was issued and signed, Verizon changed its approach, and the first community to reach a deal with them under this new approach was Billerica, which I represented. And there, Verizon won this is the first renewal in Billerica and communities afterwards, a 5-year cable license, but with a unilateral right to terminate in 3 years. That after 31 months, they could provide a 6-month notice and they could be out. Now, I don't believe in any of those communities that'll happen, because I don't think they're going to get out of it as fast as they think. They have customers, they make money. Going fully to something that they want to call streaming, whether it's the cable or not, they want to call it that, is easier said than done. So, but the longer we go, the more likely it is that that might be something they exercise the early termination provision. Now, we're one of the first communities now in the license renewal process with Verizon a second time. Verizon sends what's called the Section 626 letter they sent to Hingham, and they and I should take a look again at the date on that. We have that letter, correct? I should take a look at what the date is and see if I can find it. But it's not clear that they really intend to negotiate much until they decide whether they're really going to pursue another renewal or not. And then they've been delayed because they have a new team in New York in charge of cable franchising. They've been delaying towns 3 or 4 months who are in their second license renewal and really it should be done. So that's the Verizon view of the world. Now, that said, the Cable Act, it has a certain process by which you follow after the cable company, the cable operator says he wants to renew. Dave, let me just take 1 sec to see if I can find you have the date, the Section 626 letter from Verizon, the letter that they said we want to renew.
I don't have it, but I can certainly get.
Okay, yeah, let me see if I can just take a quick look. One sec. Well, we'll take a look. And I want to look at that letter because that'll let us know the timing of when we might have a hearing.
Okay,
So let me get that letter, Dave, or from the
well,
town.
Tom should have it, right? I mean,
Yeah, I can't remember if they sent it. I mean, imagine they did. Let me check one thing here, one last thing.
because that starts the clock, right?
Yes. That said, there's not really a big formal process with these guys. Let me take a look here one sec. Let me just see here. Okay. All right, let's see. All right, we'll get that.
No, don't worry
Once it's-
about it.
Yeah, no, well, I just because we would talk the dates here today. That's it. But let's assume we have a hearing. Well, let's assume we're gonna have a hearing. So let me just get one thing here. I apologize.
Wanted to let you know I turn my video camera off. I get better Wi-Fi, so I am paying attention.
You better
Good.
now.
Okay, so let me put that up again. Okay, so let me reshare that. Oops. Okay. All right, I just need to get that document up. I'm just having trouble getting this document back up. One sec. Okay, hopefully that works. Yeah. I'm just trying to get the Zoom thing to.
Do I have to do anything on my end?
No, I don't think so. I just can't get that damn page up.
Well, I got a hard copy.
Yeah, no, let me get it up because it just makes more sense. But it's just not getting this Zoom page here. Let me see. Okay, got that there. I need to get, oops, cancel. I just need to get the share screen. Horizon message renewal. Okay,
There you go.
so so we want to have a hearing, and I think we should, and I guess it'd be Michelle there. Michelle, are you who's are you the access director at Harbor Media, or are you at school still?
Yes, I'm a Harbor Media Executive Director.
Okay, so let's talk about the idea of having a hearing, because you would have people out. Now, Verizon doesn't really care about the hearing. They just care about their parameters. No matter what you showed your needs were in ascertainment, they really don't care. But it's worthwhile doing. Legally, we should do it. So let's assume for the moment we did it in, we have time pressures because of the holidays. One possibility is, and you'd have folks come and speak. What I think I would recommend is that is it the Board of Selectmen or Select Board now?
Select Board.
Select board.
That the Select Board designate the committee to hold the hearing. Now, then the question would be, could we have that hearing in November, before we get to Thanksgiving? You want to, Michelle, get some people out there, and we can get to see the schools and some others, but it's not like a Comcast license renewal, where that hearing is an incredibly important part of a Comcast license renewal. It's not incredibly important for Verizon, but if you do it, you want to have people come, and and it's helpful just to show the town that, again, the importance of access TV. So let's talk about, for the committee, would it be possible to have a hearing before Thanksgiving in November?
Well, I mean, don't we actually have to do a legal notice?
Well, it's interesting. The way I do it, in theory, for hearings in Massachusetts, if the hearing, there's this 2-week legal notice. But
Right.
my read of that we're doing this not because of the state regulation, one sentence regulation, you have to have a hearing before you sign. And we'd have one at the end when the license is available. But this is part of like an ascertainment proceeding under the Cable Act. So I take the position that it's not a hearing, it's an ascertainment proceeding. It's not under the Cable Act. And therefore we could just put notice in once. It's fine. Because we're still going to have a hearing anyway,
Right.
later on, also under the Cable Act, and that meets the state law requirement of a hearing. So we're fine on notice. If we could pick a day that works for the committee, that works for Michelle, and then, maybe we might have the board vote, just not that it's needed. We could have the board vote to authorize you to do that, but they already empower you. I don't think you need to be authorized. So let's talk about, is there some time looking at Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving is relatively late. What about the week before that? What about the week of the 15th to the 17th? Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday is a good day. The 17th, Wednesday, November 17th. How does that sound?
Good with me. Now, is there a reason why you want to have it before Thanksgiving? I mean, is it a timing?
Well, I don't have the Section 626 letter, so I don't know the dates.
Okay.
But yeah, you know why? Because after Thanksgiving to Christmas, no one's going to get a hearing. And then you get into January, and so I just think it's a good time to have it. Get it out of the way.
All right. Well, I would say a 17th, unless anyone else has got a problem.
My question is, I've attended a Comcast ascertainment meeting before, and it was on the now Select Board agenda. You're saying this is not as formal, Bill, and you're talking about something within 2 to 3 weeks. So would this be part of a CAC meeting, or does Dave need to ask the town administrator to have an agenda item on an upcoming Select Board meeting?
We could do it either way. If there's, I'm not really concerned about who does it, because the Cable Act doesn't say who does it. So I'm fine, just the committee just doing it, and we'll let the town administrator know and the Select Board know. But I don't really feel it's needed to get their authorization.
I obviously would prefer just the committee do it because getting it in the Select Board there's no way if we had to do it through the Select Board or be on the Select Board, there's no way you're going to make the 17th. given the way my experience with pushing through the, town government. So I would definitely do the committee, but I would definitely need some words and wisdom of the format of the meeting. And
Yeah, no, I would give you a memo about it, a script. We'll have, and then we'll talk about who, we can talk about now, like, great to have some access folks, some students, some past students who are in college or jobs. If the school superintendent or who's here would speak, or someone else, media teacher, if there's that. If there's some folks who work with Harbor Media in the business community. Again, it's overkill, but if it's what you're going to do, and you might as well have a good hearing. I base my hearing process, even with Verizon, on Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland. So so that's good, and we'll get that out of the way. I get the section 626 letter. Look at the dates anyway. So let's go back then to the process. What we need to know. I focus on the legal issues and the financial issues. I don't have this to be a 2-3 year waste time and money process. It doesn't, because oftentimes that just comes out for the worst license. So we're going to get that aspect. Now we also want to have like a capital plan, Michelle, and maybe last time there was a list of goals. We have the capital plan from last time. It's not that long ago. You can just update that. As long as you have to have real numbers, but you want to not leave anything out. I could talk to you about that. Michelle, do you buy from Gary Pink's firm, any do you deal with Gary Pink or any of these folks?
I know Gary is. You mean for equipment, or do you mean
Yeah,
for services?
Equipment, yeah.
Yeah, well, we've used Unique Media and Ockers most recently.
Yeah, and Gary does, he's really busy, but he'll help if you want, help you with the capital plan. We have it. You have one from last time. And maybe
Annual, we submit that in our annual materials every year. So, it's something I already have.
Good. So we'll have a capital plan, a list of goals, and things you want to improve and expand. It will be 1 page, 2 pages. I have samples, which I want to give today from you, Harbor Media last time. And then the other thing I like is it's just like an outline, a memo, that says COVID, that talks about all the things you did at COVID-19, during COVID-19. How, as people articulate, in towns and cities, democracy wouldn't have survived in the same way for that period of time if it wasn't for access. It allowed a lot of towns to use Zoom or other video platform. It covered government meetings. I mean, it was essential for the continuation of the democracy. And, it's certainly, in the term of who's essential and who's not, it turned out that access is more essential than a lot of people who thought they were. So I have some samples there too, but I think that's a good thing to discuss. So that really would be it. Goals and interests going forward, improved, expanded, whether you want to do more training, more outreach, more government programs, capital plan, dealing with the facility, and then brief, 1.5 pages, 1 page on COVID and what was done, and then how the world isn't going back. Hybrid meetings that people now expect, as you know better than I, that there'll be more meetings on the internet, on cable, the hybridization, that in a little talk about that. So with that, then this is our second renewal, as mentioned. We mentioned the Verizon sort of has 1 foot out. Now, since the last license, as I mentioned, in Bellricker and the progeny and other folks who copied my model, they want the 3-year unilateral termination. In exchange for that, we get 5 years of capital paid in 3 years. So unlike before, where my licenses, which were, I think was a good methodology, better than a per subscriber capital amount, my licenses had typically 0.5% of gross revenues for capital, 0.5% of the company's gross revenues. That's in addition to the 4.8 or 5%, or 4.8 something, in addition to the 4.85, and a set dollar amount. What we had in Verizon was 0.5% and $19,000 a year. Now, in the new, with a 3-year out, if you really did a 0.5% of gross revenues and you ended in 3 years, you don't know the revenues for the last 2 years. Sure, you're going to use the revenues for the first 2, but instead of that, it was the town's interest, and what I did in Billerica is made it a set dollar amount per year. So if they have people who cut the cord or shave the cord, we don't lose peg capital. Now, in exchange for like a 5-year license, or in case a 3-year out, we can get from, and Verizon's still doing, although they're starting to push on it, pay a premium to Comcast. Because, because if originally when it was a 5-year renewal, well, we don't have a guarantee for the next 5 years. We have to do this again. There's a cost, there's time. And even though we get our 5 years of capital free on the 3-year out, it still creates a situation where they've decided that what matters more to them is flexibility in time. They decided that. And in exchange for flexibility in time, that we need to get paid a premium on the capital. Because otherwise, as we would debate when we did this, in a very good town to do it, tough town administrator, very good. We said, well, are you telling the people in town X or Billerica or whatever that you plan that you at the moment you might be leaving in 3 years? They're not telling that to their residents, their customers in that town, but they're asking the town to create the flexibility that they can do it. What town normally says, well, we'll commit for 5, but you can only commit for 3. And with that flexibility, if Verizon got out of the license after 3 years, they would not have, they pay less for programming because they get programming from programmers, not as a cable company, but as like, for each click and video streaming, they'd save a lot of money. They'd save some money on customer service. So they'll have all those cost savings. So the reason they want the 3-year out is less because they don't want to pay us and more for the last 2 years, but because they get the flexibility to get out of the license and save and take their path forward. Well, if that what matters to them, then we need something for that. And so therefore, if now, as they're starting to think, well, why are we paying more than Comcast? We'd say, well, look, I'm not going to ask you for more money or beg for that. If now you no longer think flexibility and time are so valuable, then fine. We can't do the 3-year out. You pick what license. Tell us what license you want. 3, 5. We'll debate it. We want it to be longer. So we do. That's how we want. If it works when we work this out and the numbers for the committee, that's what we get as consideration for giving them an out. Now, sometimes I go to a town now, and the town will already have a proposal, and the proposal from Verizon will say they can unilaterally end it in 30 days. They do that in other states. It's not acceptable from our point of view, but we don't know where they're going to be on their second renewal because they haven't made a proposal to anyone in the Commonwealth, and they're not looking to do it until they have a greater sense that they have to have a new license. Now, the next bullet point is, well, we talked about the termination. In this, you'll see there, I gave an example of what the termination provision looks like. No sooner than the 31st month, they can give 180 days notice. I had one license where it was no sooner than the 27th month, but a 270 days notice. They haven't done that elsewhere. We could talk about that, but the point is that they're going to want that termination. And if that's acceptable, it's hard to force them to stay if they don't want, but we want to be paid for that. Secondly, without boring you, that we have in our Verizon license in Hingham, what my communities have, with your unique language, not in Plymouth, but that is very valuable. I'll give you one example. It's listed here, the gross revenue. Our license says that when there's a bundle, when there's cable, internet, and telephone service, that as always, you have to determine how much of that is cable, because you only get the franchise fee on the cable portion of the bill. And what every other license, including Plymouth, says is how it's based on how Verizon keeps their books. Well, they could keep them anyway, in theory, potentially. And so the challenge there is that it used to be that if you had a bundle, cable might have been $60, $70. And they say, oh, for an extra 20, you can have telephone, for an extra 30, you can have internet. But there, $70 would be what your franchise fee would go against. But in the modern world, there's a lot of competition for video, but there's not a lot of competition for internet. So in the modern world, they have an incentive to say that the internet is $60, $70, $80. And for $10 more, $20 more, you can have cable. Well, if that's how they keep their books, then your 4.85% is on $20 instead of 70. You could have a tremendous loss of revenue. The Hingham license says that they determine the value of a bundle service under GAAP standards. And GAAP for the last 4 years has a rule that you look at the individual prices and the relationship in each service. And I have another provision in there that says nothing stops them from giving more money to you than what is required under GAAP, then would be calculated under GAAP. So those provisions, that's the key one, but there are others. One modification I won't get into. Those are in our current license, and I've retained them, and we have not had a dispute about those in any other license going forward, since I began with it 6 years ago on the renewals. So that's the good news, is that we wouldn't be prepared to change, but that I don't expect a change to come from our existing language, particularly on the language on how you calculate the cable portion of a bundled service. Now, the level, the next provision I'm going to talk about is that most licenses, probably Plymouth, has a provision that if somebody gives another cable company gives the town or less capital money, head capital, that from then on, Verizon can reduce its capital from that point onward if there's still capital owed. Kind of a Me Too level playing field provision. My licenses don't have that. My licenses deal with it in another section where they can negotiate. If they're unhappy, they can get out of the license in 3 years notice. So that would be a problem because for us in Hingham, because remember now we've said that Verizon pays a premium, right? They pay a premium on head capital. So if they pay a premium on head capital, how can we sign an agreement where if there's a Comcast license that follows that, like last time the Comcast license came 16 months after the Verizon license, how can you get a premium in capital from Verizon and sign an agreement that says if Comcast pays you less, then from then on Verizon pays you less? Because we've agreed they should pay a premium to Comcast. It doesn't make any sense. So we don't have that language in Hingham. Most other cable licenses have it. But they are now, in my licenses, pushing back on that. One town, there was an issue, and they kind of want to push back on that. But as I explained to Dave this afternoon, that's not really, it's not a major problem going forward, because if we sign a Verizon renewal here, then the next renewal that comes up, if everything's done on time, would be the next Verizon renewal. In other words, the Verizon renewal will come up before the 10-year Comcast renewal, because Comcast was 13 months later. So that means that if we have a provision in the Verizon license going forward, that if another cable company pays less money, then they can pay less money. We ain't going to have another cable company come up. We're not going to get a third company, and we're not going to have a Comcast license. So now we could live with the Me Too provision if we had to. If it's in there, then the next license, you're not going to get it out, and it would apply in the next license. But as I said, whether there's even a next license and 5 years after 5 years, that's so far in the future. I don't think I'd worry about it. So I'm just these are the critical legal points. I think we could live with a Me Too provision on capital. I think there's a minor advantage I won't get into. I don't think we would agree to, I don't think we would propose that, but if it came down to that's what needs to get the license done, I don't think it's a problem. The next issue, and Michelle, weren't you with the schools before you were with the Access Corp? Maybe I'm forgetting.
No.
No, I was with Norwell when Harbor Media took on the Norwell community. I was hired
Oh.
to start that TV station.
Okay, so I'm confusing. So cable service to public buildings, the current license provision you see here, that if requested, no one ever requests cable service to public buildings from Verizon, because people have it from Comcast if they have Comcast. So, what do you need Verizon to go in there? But now they have a new provision that references, as you know, Michelle, the in-kind consideration order of the FCC. Now, without getting into the depth, it doesn't make any sense because, they're saying they want to wait until it's finally decided through all the appeals. Now there's a certiorari appeal on the FCC's order, and not even on this. In fact, there's no appeal on the in-kind consideration. So that's been decided. So they have a provision here that says they'll wait for this to be decided, and then they could charge you, or they'll provide it, assuming that we don't the law changes or the case the order is overturned. So it's a lot of gobbledygook, because our position really is we only want it if we ask, and our chance of asking is as close to zero as you can get. So why have all this language about the FCC's in-kind consideration order, which lets company deduct money from your franchise fee because they're giving you something else? Why deal with that here? Because I don't like that as a precedent for Comcast or anywhere. And particularly now, we're at 4.85%. So Michelle, as you may know, the in-kind consideration order only kicks in when you get to 5% of gross revenues. So at 4.85, you would add $1.30 a year per subscriber for the state and local license fee. You'd still have some expense that they could have to do that wouldn't take you to 5%, that wouldn't mean that you get a reduction in what they pay you. So there's really no reason to have their language or to do different than we have. But like a lot of things in cable, they don't want one town to do differently. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter much to us. If we're not going to get the service, we could give them the language they want, even though I don't like discussing the FCC in-kind consideration or in depth or agreeing that somehow we won't do something unless this happens or that. But it's not the end of the world, because at the end of the day, we don't want your cable service. It's probably where you're going to be, unless there's something different in Hingham, which I don't think there is. So sum total, we're going to have a hearing. We'll do a notice. Let's talk about the notice. You use a weekly paper
Yes.
in Hingham?
Yeah.
Come out on Wednesday or Thursday? What day do you think it comes out?
It comes out Thursdays.
So we can get the notice in for next week.
Okay.
So then next week is November. I'm sorry, comes out Thursday or Wednesday?
The journal comes out on a Thursday.
Okay, so it comes out November 4th. And then November 11th.
Right.
Which paper is that?
Hingham Journal.
So I'm going to write it up as an ascertainment proceeding. Dave, what I can do is I'll give you a sample.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes to make it easier, if we can get a sample from the town of what their notice looks like for a hot, because by the way, guys, are you going to be hybrid or remote on your meeting?
I prefer it to be a Zoom meeting.
Okay. Because of COVID?
Yeah.
Or because
It's just easier.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So it'll be a remote meeting. So
yeah.
I'll take a look online at the you have a notice for yours. Send me I'll take a look at or I'll take a look at your open meeting law notice, and I'll use that as a model based on my notice.
Yeah,
I'll send you a notice by the end of tomorrow. So
okay,
then we could get it to the town and they can get it in.
okay,
And it will be a Zoom, a remote meeting. So we'll have the hearing.
Yep.
Michelle, I'll give you a few more samples. And if you could update your capital plan, do goals and interest, and do as I said, a COVID memo, that'd be great. Dave, what I need is, and I can give you an email, the quarterly revenue and franchise fee reports
yeah,
that should come from both companies, but Verizon doesn't always do it. I need to get those, particularly for Verizon, for the last few years, 2 years, let's say. And the reason I say that is I want to, when we figure out what we're going to be asking for PEG capital.
yeah,
Remember, we're not going to probably get the same because they're going to look, we took less from Comcast. We'll get a premium, but they're going to look at that and they're going to want to say, well, they're only paying you this. And we're going to say, well, if you want that 5-year license with the 3-year out. So you have to beat that. You have to beat the 25,000 a year. Plus, as we know, Comcast gave us 60,000 for the iNet buyout. Now Verizon wants to say, well, that shouldn't count. We shouldn't have to. Well, if we go to your Verizon license, we could, everything comes over this iNet remind me now, the town's building it, right? So the town now has its municipal fiber system that you can use for video return. So you're paying for that. And as a result, that should be taken into consideration that Verizon doesn't have that cost and you're subsidizing them on that.
that's right.
And so we should take that into consideration on the PEG capital. They like to say, well, we shouldn't. Well, maybe when they have to compare to somebody else, but that we beg to differ on that. Otherwise, then we'll tell you the buildings, and you agree to come back from those buildings if we don't do it. So that I want to get the revenue sheets from Verizon because I want to figure out, remember, on 0.5% of gross revenue, I want to see what that's been amounting to in the last 2 years. The 0.5%, then plus the 19. So I'll send you an email on that, and I'll send a sample of that to you, Dave, so that you can speak to the board. And typically it goes to the select board.
Yep,
It doesn't go to the. Sometimes they say, oh, the accountant or the treasurer. They will never get that. It's only to the select board, or in some cases, if the payment goes to the access board, it goes to the backup goes to the access board. So we want to get that, and what we'll do, I'll work on and. Is to figure out how much money do we want to ask Comcast for, Verizon for, in capital. And I need to crunch the numbers, but I need also to get the revenue sheets.
yep. Hey, Bill,
Yeah.
send the request for the quarterly stuff to Mike, because Mike has all that. Mike Leary.
Oh,
I'll
and
send-
Mike is who?
Mike Leary, I'll send you his email address.
Yeah. Who is he though? He's the.
He's our finance guy on the committee. He has all that stuff.
Oh, good. All right. Oh, you send it to me, and I'll copy you and I'll put it into him.
Yeah, that'd be
Oh,
great.
good.
That'd
So what we're going to do is we're going to have the work by Michelle. We're going to have the hearing. I'm going to crunch the numbers in the PEG capital. We have our key legal provisions. I have, we don't now. If Verizon, when they engage, they typically want to engage on the license, legal and policy provisions before they talk dollars. And they may want to give they probably would their draft to us. Normally I do a draft with Comcast, but since that's their key, they can give us a draft. But what I'll tell their attorneys, who I know well, and that that there has to be a darn good reason to change from what we have. And the fundamental provisions I have, I can't, unlikely we would change. But that would probably be discussed before dollars.
Okay.
But now finally, I think we'll invite them to the hearing, they won't come. And after that, together with the town administrator, I think what we need to do, Dave, is reach out to maybe Paul Train again. And Bruce Posizur doesn't actively work on that now. And then we want to keep in touch with Paul. So when Verizon's ready to negotiate, we're at the top of the list.
Yep. So Paul's still doing it?
He is.
Okay.
What,
And last,
time?
we had a very hard-hitting hearing and discussion last time.
Yep.
Which some thought like, oh, wow, tense, but everything right over there, that caused everything to break and we got it all done. And they couldn't have been more cooperative, more reasonable, and we were the same to them.
Okay.
What time is the hearing?
Let's talk about that. What you want to make it, you tell me, guys, folks, 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock.
Speaking of, people get home later, right?
7 o'clock.
All right.
I'm out. I can't do that. But you don't need me.
Okay. Seven o'clock on the 17th.
The only issue that I have, that's a Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a building committee on Wednesdays for Foster. There's one going on right now. I committed to this one first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but I could jump on it and then jump over the building committee.
yeah, Gary, I think the key is if you could speak as the superintendent, and if you get some other folks at the school who are involved in this, I think you're speaking 2 or 3 minutes. So I think if you sat on that side of the aisle rather than as committee member,
Yep.
you can sit on the committee. That's the great value you have in that process,
Yep.
and that would be really great.
We'll do that. I'll do that. Put me on the agenda at the top if you could, and then I'll just speak my piece and then we'll
Yeah.
jump back over to the building committee.
That'd be great.
Okay,
Thanks.
no problem. Happy to help.
Great. Any thoughts, questions, anyone?
Now, let's get this thing done.
How come it's been taking so long? Just kidding.
Yeah, really.
There you go.
Wait, what's the holdup?
Yes.
No, that's good. Okay, yeah, we got our action items and we will press on. Do we actually, should we meet before, I'm now getting to the point where we should schedule our next meeting. We probably should meet the week before as a committee, just to make sure we got our ducks in a row for the 17th. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be, sure. Yeah, I mean, maybe even the 10th,
Yeah,
or if Wednesday's bad, we could even do it Monday, the 15th.
actually, why don't we do Monday, let's see.
Okay.
No, I can't do the 15th, sorry. Can't do
Okay.
it.
How about
So-
Tuesday, the 16th?
Tuesday the 16th, I can,
Let's see, I have a hearing. I can't, yeah.
I
Here's
can't-
my thought. I think we'll be okay.
You think
And
so?
I think, yeah, I think if we, between you and I, and if we need, and if something came up and we had to call out with 48 hours, I think we're okay. Because if Monday doesn't work, and then I can't do Wednesday, I can't do Tuesday rather. And then Wednesday, the 10th, we have the superintendent having, we're using a lot of his time. So I think we'll be fine. I
All right.
really do.
Okay.
Because Michelle, I don't know if I have your contact. I probably do. I can speak to Michelle. Gary, who should be in charge of rounding up other folks at the school, like media people? You want to have someone in the committee do that, or you want to, or it doesn't have to be a lot. If you had 1 or 2 people, if they want to speak.
Well, it's probably gonna be relative, Michelle, probably more high school people, right? I mean, they have more of a connection to the studio, or I would think, I mean, I can talk to the principal, see what he can do. But again, you have to, yeah, I gotta, I'm not familiar with who it would be, I can talk to the principal.
Only Rick Swanson, we work a
Yeah.
lot with Rick.
Yeah, we can talk to Rick. Rick, I think the principal would be able to speak to it. Probably, and I'll talk to him tomorrow.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Well, I think we got a lot done. we'll be great legal, we'll be all prepared and more legally. As I said, with Verizon, the real issue is to understand the legal issue, the strategic issues. It's not 20 years ago where you spend, 18 months figuring out what kind of telephone you need or what people think of the cable company. That doesn't get you anywhere. And the license, what gets you somewhere is to stretch the financial terms and to protect yourself from their wanting to have provisions that let them end up with a license that's different than we think we agreed to. So I think we're in good shape on that. What will decide this is where they are in the first instance, whether they're going to continue with light cable and license renewal. I think they will, but if we went much longer, in 2 years or I'd say, well, I'm not sure, but I still think we'll be under the wire. And if we are under the wire, we'll make sure we have the best legal provisions possible, and that the dollars are such that they're not a detriment to the next Comcast license, and that they meet your needs best they can.
All right, excellent. Okay, well, next meeting will be the 17th, which will be the ascertainment.
Do you want to meet? Can you meet at like 6:45 and then before the 7 o'clock hearing part?
Yeah, that makes sense. We will convene as the committee at 6:45, and then the actual meeting will kick off at 7. That's a good idea.
Good.
Just make sure we're all on and the things work, and then the rest of it. Okay, sounds good to me.
Good. Good luck with we didn't have wind or we didn't have down trees or anything, so we don't have people here. I'm in the beginning of Western Mass without power. We usually do, but the numbers are astounding in Eastern Mass. So best of luck with that.
All right. Okay, I'll let you guys go. Motion to adjourn. Somebody make a motion.
I will move to adjourn.
All right. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Hey. There we are adjourned.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I know.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.